Hey there, and welcome. If you're learning English and you've ever felt stuck, overwhelmed, or just plain frustrated, you're not alone. I've been right where you are, still struggling to speak English fluently, even after months, maybe even years of studying. You've got the grammar, you've memorized the vocabulary, you've watched all the tutorials, but when it's time to speak, nothing comes out. That used to be me too. I was doing everything the book said, and still, I couldn't speak with confidence. But something changed, and it wasn't another textbook. It was a simple decision. I stopped studying, and I started speaking. Every single day, and that changed everything. In this video, I'm going to share my full journey, how I went from stuck and silent to confident and fluent, just by building one powerful daily habit: speaking English out loud, every single day. I'll walk you through exactly what I did, the struggles, the tools, the fears, the breakthroughs, so you can start your own fluency journey without wasting years like I did. Let's get started. Back when I first started learning English, my routine looked pretty much like everyone else's. I had the grammar books. I watched hours of English YouTube videos. I even downloaded those vocabulary apps and made lists of new words every day. And don't get me wrong, I was trying. I thought if I just studied harder, if I memorized more words, if I watched more lessons, then someday I'd finally be fluent. But here's the truth. I was doing all that without actually speaking a single word. Not to myself, not to anyone else. I knew the grammar rules, but I couldn't form a sentence fast enough. I memorized vocabulary, but I couldn't use those words in real conversations. And worst of all, when I had to talk to someone in real life, I froze, like completely blank. I remember one time I tried ordering food in English at a restaurant. My hands were literally shaking. I kept thinking, what if I mess up? What if I sound stupid? So I just pointed at the menu instead and didn't say a word. That fear, that embarrassment, it was constant. Every conversation felt like a test I was failing, and over time, I started to believe maybe I just wasn't good enough. Maybe English fluency wasn't for me, but now I realize it wasn't me that was the problem. It was the way I was learning. I was studying English, but I wasn't using English. And that's when something in me started to shift. There was one moment that changed everything for me. One moment where I just broke. It was a job interview. My dream company, international team, remote work, everything I'd ever wanted. And they said, "We'll do it in English." I said, "Sure," and smiled. But inside, I was panicking. I'd studied for this. I knew the vocabulary. I had answers written in my notebook. But the moment the video call started, my mind went blank. They asked me a simple question. "Can you tell us about a time you solved a problem at work?" And I knew what I wanted to say, but I couldn't say it. The words were there in my head, but they wouldn't come out of my mouth. Instead, I froze. I stumbled over half a sentence, then apologized, then said, "Sorry, can I start again?" Twice, and I watched the energy shift. Their faces turned polite, cold, and I knew I'd lost the chance. After the interview, I didn't cry, not right away. But later that night, I just sat in the dark and whispered to myself, "I've spent years studying. For this?" I felt like I'd wasted so much time, so many lessons, so many notebooks. And still, when it mattered most, I couldn't speak. But somewhere in that moment, that frustration, I made a decision. I'm done hiding. I'm done waiting to be perfect. I'm done learning about English. From now on, I speak. Every single day. No matter how messy. No matter how awkward. No matter how scared I felt. That was my promise to myself. And that was the day everything started to change. After that breaking point, I knew I couldn't wait for fluency to just happen. I had to take action. Consistent, daily, uncomfortable action. So I made a rule for myself. Just one rule. Speak English every single day. For 30 days. No pressure to be perfect. No pressure to sound native. Just speak. Even if it was only 5 minutes. Even if it was just me, alone, talking to myself in a quiet room. It still counted. I created a little chart on paper. 30 boxes. Every day I spoke, I'd put a check mark. Some days I recorded voice notes on my phone. Other days I'd talk while doing chores, even brushing my teeth. It was weird. It was awkward. But I did it. The first week? Brutal. I kept forgetting words. I'd start a sentence, get stuck, and just laugh. And yeah, I felt stupid. I'd say something like, today I, went to, the place with food. Market. But I pushed through. And then something started to shift. By day 10, something magical happened. I caught myself speaking. Without translating. I wasn't building the sentence in my native language and then converting it. It just came out. Raw, simple, but real English. And that tiny moment gave me so much motivation. Because it proved this was working. Every day, I got just a little better, a little faster, a little less afraid. I stopped judging myself, stopped trying to sound perfect, and started focusing on what really mattered. Being understood, communicating clearly, thinking like an English speaker. That 30-day challenge didn't just improve my English. It changed my relationship with English. I went from being a silent learner to a confident speaker in the making. And once I hit day 30, I didn't want to stop. Because now I could feel the difference. In my brain. In my voice. In my confidence. Let's talk about the habits that actually changed everything for me. These weren't complex, expensive, or magical. They were simple, consistent, and they worked. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to break down 6 daily speaking habits that help me go from stuck and silent to fluent and confident. And I'm not just going to tell you what they are. I'll share real stories, how I felt, and exactly how you can start doing them too. Let's dive in. Habit 1. Talk to yourself. This one sounds a little weird at first, I know, but trust me. Talking to yourself in English is one of the most powerful things you can do. I started by narrating simple things. Okay, I'm brushing my teeth now. I'm going to make some breakfast. After this, I'll check my emails. It felt silly at first. I'd even laugh at myself. But guess what? No one was judging me. I was in control. I wasn't afraid of making mistakes because there was no pressure. And slowly, something amazing happened. I started thinking in English. My inner voice, that voice in your head, stopped translating from my native language and started forming English thoughts directly. That was huge. Because once you start thinking in English, fluency gets 10 times easier. So next time you're walking, cooking, or cleaning, talk to yourself. Tell your day like a story. Pretend you're narrating your life like a YouTube vlog. You'll be surprised how fast your brain adapts. Habit 2. Record voice notes. This habit took things to the next level. Every day I recorded myself speaking for just a few minutes. Sometimes I described my day. Other times I'd talk about a topic, like my favorite movie or what I want to do in the future. I didn't worry about grammar or sounding perfect. I just spoke. Then later, I'd listen back. And yes, the first few recordings were hard to hear. I sounded nervous. I made mistakes. I repeated the same words. But instead of feeling bad, I saw progress. Day by day, my voice changed. My flow improved. My confidence grew. I could hear my mistakes and fix them. And most importantly, I could hear my growth. Recording your voice is like watching your English transformation in real time. So try it. One voice note a day, just 3 minutes, and watch what happens after a month. Habit 3. Repeat phrases from real content. I call this speak like the show. Here's what I did. I'd watch a YouTube video, a podcast, or a short scene from a movie. Then I'd pause after a sentence and repeat it out loud, exactly how the speaker said it. Their tone, their speed, their rhythm. At first, I sounded robotic, but over time, I started to sound natural. This habit helped me train my ear and mouth to work together, just like a native speaker. You don't need to memorize thousands of vocabulary words. You just need to master a few hundred real-life phrases and use them naturally. So find a video you love, play it, pause, repeat, over and over. You'll feel awkward at first, but then you'll feel fluent. Habit 4. Join speaking groups. This one was scary. Joining a group of strangers online and speaking English? I was terrified, but I did it anyway. I joined a small WhatsApp group of English learners. At first, I only read messages. Then, I started writing short replies. Then, voice messages. Eventually, we started weekly Zoom calls. And my first call? I barely said 5 words. But the next week, 10 words. The next, full sentences. Every time I showed up, I felt more confident. Speaking groups are powerful because they give you real interaction. You hear different accents. You learn new expressions. And you stop being afraid of making mistakes. It's okay to be shy at first. Just show up. You don't need perfect grammar. You need real practice. Habit 5. Use AI tools and apps. Let's be real. Sometimes we don't have someone to talk to. That's where tech comes in. I started using AI chat apps, language exchange platforms, and, yes, even ChatGPT to practice conversations. I'd write something, and it would reply. I'd speak, and get instant responses. The best part? No judgment, no pressure, no fear. You can make 100 mistakes and no one will laugh. That kind of safe space is amazing for building fluency. So if you're afraid to speak with real people right now, start here. Practice daily chats with AI. Get used to typing, thinking, and replying in English. It works. Habit 6. Describe your day in English. This became my nighttime habit, but you can do it in the morning too. I'd take 5 to 10 minutes to describe my day out loud. What I did, what I felt, what I'll do tomorrow. I woke up at 7. I was tired, so I made some coffee. I had a meeting at 10. It went well, but I was nervous. That's fluency in action. You're using real emotions, real vocabulary, real reflection. And you're building a habit of using English the way it's meant to be used, as a tool to express your life. All these habits helped me break free from the cycle of studying and finally start speaking. Not once a week, not once a month, every day. And when you speak every day, even just 10 minutes, you don't just improve, you transform. Let me know if you'd like me to continue with the next chapter. Real results. What changed after 90 days? Let me be honest with you. I didn't get everything right when I started speaking every day. In fact, I made a lot of mistakes. Mistakes that held me back for years. And I want to share them with you now so you don't fall into the same traps. Mistake number 1, trying to be perfect. I used to sit there thinking, what if I say it wrong? What if I sound stupid? What if they laugh at my accent? So I'd stay quiet. And you know what that did? Absolutely nothing for my fluency. The truth? Perfection was holding me back. And once I gave myself permission to make mistakes, everything changed. Mistake number 2, waiting until I felt ready. I told myself, I'll start speaking when I've studied more. Once I finish this grammar book, then I'll speak. After I learn 500 new words, I'll be confident. Guess what? That perfect moment never came, and I wasted months waiting when I could have been practicing. You don't need to feel ready. You become ready by doing it scared. Mistake number 3, avoiding native speakers. I was terrified. What if I didn't understand them? What if they spoke too fast? So I stuck with English learners like me, which was fine. But I missed out on real-life speaking opportunities. Then one day, I finally joined a conversation group with native speakers. And yes, I made mistakes. Yes, I froze sometimes. But you know what else happened? I grew. Fast. Because real growth happens when you step into the uncomfortable zone. And mistake number 4, not tracking my speaking time. I told myself I was speaking every day. But when I looked back, I realized I was skipping days, or only speaking for a minute or two. No structure, no accountability. So I started tracking. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, sometimes 15th. And suddenly my progress became visible, and that kept me going. When you see your consistency on paper, it builds momentum, and momentum creates fluency. So if you take anything away from this, take this. Don't wait. Don't aim for perfect. Don't avoid the hard stuff. Speak now. Speak often. Speak imperfectly. Because every mistake you make while speaking is one step closer to fluency, and you deserve to get there faster than I did. So, what actually happened after 90 days of speaking English every single day? Let me tell you, the results shocked me. Not because I suddenly sounded like a native speaker, but because for the first time in my life I felt free when I spoke English. I wasn't translating in my head. I wasn't doubting every word. I wasn't afraid of making mistakes. I was just speaking, naturally, confidently. One day, I was walking through a local park, and a tourist came up to me. He asked for directions. But instead of panicking, like I used to, I smiled, responded instantly, and even started a short conversation with him. We talked for 20 minutes about the city, the weather, the food, just casual, friendly chat. And when it was over, I realized something. I didn't freeze once. That was the moment I knew. This challenge had changed everything. No more fear. No more hiding behind silence. No more, I'll speak someday. This was my fluency. Not perfect, but real. Fluent enough to connect, to express myself, to be me in English. Other people noticed too. Friends told me, "Your English sounds more natural now. You speak faster than before, and with more confidence." And the best part? I didn't study harder. I didn't memorize 1,000 new words. I just spoke. Every single day. It wasn't always easy, but it was always worth it. So if you're wondering, will this really work for me? The answer is yes, if you commit. Because if I can go from freezing in conversations to speaking freely with strangers in 90 days, you can too. And I'll be here, cheering you on every step of the way. So, now that you know my story, you're probably thinking, this sounds great, but how do I start? I get it. It can feel overwhelming to think about starting something new, especially when you're not sure if it will work. But trust me, the first step is simpler than you think. You don't need fancy equipment. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. You just need to start speaking. Here's the deal. Pick one habit. That's right. You don't need to dive into all the habits I shared at once. Pick just one. Maybe it's talking to yourself. Maybe it's recording voice notes. Maybe it's joining an online speaking group. Pick the one that feels the easiest or most exciting to you. Step 1. Speak for just 5 minutes today. Yes, you heard that right. Just 5 minutes. That's the first commitment. 5 minutes of speaking. It's short, but it's enough to begin building that confidence. And it's not about perfection. It's about doing. If you're alone, use your phone. Record your thoughts, describe your day, or talk about your plans. You don't need an audience. Your phone's microphone is all you need. Speaking out loud to yourself might feel a little strange at first, but that's how you get comfortable with your voice in English. Trust me, you'll start feeling more natural as you go. Now, here's the big secret. You don't need a classroom. You don't need to sit with textbooks for hours. What you really need is your voice, your time, and your commitment. It's about finding moments in your day, every day, to speak. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're just practicing, building fluency, and most importantly, you're building confidence. 5 minutes a day is all it takes to start. And remember, that's just the beginning. Once you speak for 5 minutes today, the next day, do it again. And the day after that, keep going. The key is consistency. By starting today, you're on the path to building real fluency, not because of what you study, but because of the simple act of speaking every day. So, what are you waiting for? Start now. Pick your habit, speak for 5 minutes today, and take that first step toward becoming fluent in English. And if you're wondering, can I really do this? Yes, you absolutely can. It might feel a little awkward at first, but that's how growth happens. Trust yourself, trust the process, and start speaking. You'll see the results. Let's do this together. Your English journey starts now. You know, for the longest time, I thought the answer was more studying, more grammar, more vocabulary lists. But fluency doesn't come from studying more. It comes from using your voice. It's not about how many books you've finished or how many rules you've memorized. It's about what you do with the English you already know. And I want to tell you something important. You don't have to be perfect to start speaking. In fact, waiting until you're ready is one of the biggest traps, because that day never comes. So start messy, start scared, start uncertain, but start. Because every word you say, even if it's wrong, brings you closer to fluency. The real transformation doesn't happen when you understand English. It happens when you live in it, when you think in English, speak your thoughts, share your stories, and connect with people. If I could go back and tell my past self one thing, it would be this. Stop hiding behind study. Start using your voice, because your voice is your power. And fluency, it's already inside you. It just needs practice to come alive. So whatever you do next, don't just study, speak, every day. You're not just learning a language, you're becoming someone new. If this video helped you, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I've got more practical, motivational content coming to help you speak English better, faster, and more confidently. And now I want to hear from you. What's the one speaking habit you'll start today? Drop it in the comments or share your story. Let's talk. Let's support each other. We're not just building fluency, we're building a community of speakers who don't wait for perfect. We show up, we speak, and we grow together. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Keep speaking, keep shining. You've got this.